start with the Raiders here since we're on Jimmy Garoppolo. It's like these are some of the moves that they have. I got it summarized here. They cut Derek Carr. They got Jimmy G. They signed Jacoby Myers, pull up their set, OJ Howard, Austin Hooper. They signed safety Marcus Epps from the Eagles.
Okay.
Some of their key losses, they lost Derek Carr, Jarrett Stidham,
Oh boy.
Denzel Perriman, D tackle Andrew Billings,
Okay.
Matt Collins, and Colin Farrell, who was a massive bust.
Yeah, Matt Collins terrified of that loss.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers is going to fill that anyways. And then they still have 15 million in cap space, and they have the 7th overall pick in this year's draft. So, what do you think the Raiders should do?
Draft Anthony Richardson. If he's there, he falls to you. Just go out there, get the dual threat quarterback. If you want to draft a guy who has upside potential, you want him to be able to sit behind Jimmy G. Maybe you're not too confident in Jimmy G because Jimmy G's gone out there the past few years, has a tendency to get hurt. So you want to draft a really good backup quarterback and then let Jarrett Stidham go. He was your backup. So I feel like they're kind of clearing the deck. They signed him to a top heavy contract in the first year, gets a 3-year deal in Vegas. I feel like they set themselves up very nicely because either going to draft Anthony Richardson or I could honestly see them drafting Will Levis too. Feel like that's a real opportunity for them there, especially he seems like more of a Josh McDaniels type of guy. Someone out of Kentucky, overlooked quarterback, someone who the media is starting to hype up this year, probably a little bit more than he should be hyped up, even though like no hype in college, and then they kind of just manufacture this hype for him coming into the combine. So I feel like
they do every year.
Will Levis, if you want a guy to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo, went to Kentucky, so you can sit him for a year or two, and then Jimmy Garoppolo's contract will be pretty easy to bench him in the last year or two of that. So I feel like go out there, get Richardson or Levis as your backup quarterback, and then rock it with Jimmy G this year. Get to sit behind them for a year, but you at least get some familiarity with Jimmy Garoppolo. Then you have the 7th overall pick. But if you want to compete and you feel like you have a real shot to because you bring in familiar pieces like Jacoby Myers, so Josh McDaniels can finally run his wide receiver flea flickers again, and then you have Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, and Josh Jacobs. So you want to go out there and contend, you probably should draft Jimmy Garoppolo an offensive line. I mean, that would help. You've had one of the worst offensive lines in the past few years, and then need secondary and linebacker help. So it's like you're either going for a quarterback or you're picking up a key piece on defense.
Yeah, I have a feeling Anthony Richardson's not going to be there at 7.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling the Seattle Seahawks might swoop in there potentially.
Okay.
A lot of connection there.
I like it.
That's where he wants to go. But if he does go there, I think more than likely it's going to be CJ Stroud, Bryce Young at number 1 and 2. And then more than likely Anthony Richardson will probably fall somewhere in the top 10. And then Will Levis, who knows? We have no idea where he'll go. Really depends on who the Colts take.
Yeah.
Which is an anomaly there. But Anthony Richardson's great because he doesn't have to start right away. Anywhere where he goes, if he can sit for like a year or two, not 4 years like Jordan Love did, but 2 or 3 years, sits behind Jimmy G, has been successful in the NFL, have made it to multiple Super Bowls. I think he'll be good there. But it's interesting because they had the pro days. I want to talk about this real quick. And we had CJ Stroud, looked fantastic in his pro day. We saw Will Levis made some really great throws. We had Bryce Young. Pretty tough pro day.
Yeah. Missing open guys downfield. They were doing the deep balls, and then there are a few occasions where he just sailed it, and then he was missing guys downfield. What's on your pro day? If you want to be a top quarterback and go to one of these good winning situations, like you can't be missing guys. And like, especially where the deep ball, I feel like is so important in the NFL, like being able to run, being a dual threat guy is important. But what do all the good dual threat quarterbacks are able to do now? Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, they can all fling it downfield. Same with Josh Allen. Same with Lamar. Lamar can even push it downfield as well. And some people criticize him for his throwing. It's like, you can't be missing guys on your pro day. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, see, what concerns it gives me is I know how NFL history works. It repeats itself. And I know that this year's draft, there's going to be a quarterback taken at 1 and a quarterback taken at 2. There are a few drafts in which case that has occurred. The 98 draft with Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. We had the 2012 draft with Andrew Luck and Robert Griffin III.
Oh,
2021 draft with Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence.
yeah.
And what happened in those drafts? We had 1, 2, potentially call it 2.5 Hall of Famers there.
Yeah.
Can't quite call Trevor Lawrence a Hall of Famer yet. And then the other guys, Ryan Leaf was probably the biggest draft bust outside of Jamarcus Russell in NFL history.
Yeah.
We had Zach Wilson, who's right up there. And then Robert Griffin III. Can't call him. He's a bust, but not for the right reasons. He got hurt. He had one great season and just had a really bad shake, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Also, you can also, if you want to throw this out here, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yeah.
Jared.
And I could see the Raiders just saying, let's ride out with Jimmy G for another year. It's like, go out there next year and go get Caleb Williams. Like, you want to talk about another guy who would be a really good fit for Vegas? Like, I know Caleb Williams already said he wants to go to Miami because who doesn't want to play with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, fastest wide receiver duo in NFL history.
Right.
Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, like Josh Jacobs, like that's not a bad step down for Caleb Williams. And then you get to resurrect the Raiders and you get to compete probably against your idol right now in Patrick Mahomes. You get to go out there in a division with Justin Herbert. And then you get to go up against probably someone else you looked up to when you were younger. I know a lot of people looked up to Russell Wilson